This is Viltrox 23mm f1.4 lens for APS-C cameras. And the one I have here is for Sony E-mount. However, there are other versions for Canon, Nikon, and Fujifilm APS-C sensors. Omahi, and today we'll put this guy on test, share my feedback with you, and let you know the pros and cons of the 23mm f1.4 lens so you make up your mind. Alright, let's get started. So the 23mm on APS-C sensor would be equivalent to a 35mm on a full frame camera, which is in fact a great focal length for video shooters, casual and street photography. Now this 23mm is f1.4, and again back to the full frame equivalent, the look of f1.4 shallow background on APS-C sensor roughly looks like f2.5 on a full frame. I mean the blurry background and bokeh look, not the aperture itself. And as I mentioned earlier, I have the Sony E-mount version here, and I'm gonna test it on the Sony APS-C flagship A6600 camera, which has sensor stabilization as well. In-hand overview. The 23mm Viltrox is built out of metal, including the lens hood, and feels awesome in hand. As you see, there are no buttons to switch between manual and autofocus. Instead, we get focus and the ring aperture. And that's give it more value in the video category. So it's remarkably a lightweight prime lens, around 260 grams, 7 ounces, and share a decent minimum focus distance, about 30 cm, 12 inches. And as like most prime lenses, there is no optical stabilization motor built into this lens. So you can rely on the sensor stabilization if you have that one in your camera. Although sensor stabilization is not great while walking, it makes a remarkable difference when shooting handheld. Now we'll check the lens in the field. Prime lenses are significantly great for photography and video work because of the image quality and the background separation we get with wide aperture settings, such as f1.4. So I got the lens to test with a friend of mine somewhere around the bushes, and we got some cool images wide open at f1.4 and f1.6 and f1.8. As you see, even though the composition is a full medium shot, we still get remarkable shallow background. Here is another example of a wide shot. And guess what? The model is stunning. See, we have a decent subject separation with a full shot. Now this image, for example, shot at f2.8, and this beautiful one shot at f1.8. I love this lens and the focal length as well. It's not 50 or 85mm, just a 23mm equivalent to a 35 on a full frame. And before continue watching this review, I would like to go through my Lightroom preset packs as well as the HRG Luts we have on my website. So if you like the mood I'm using here, these presets are on sale now. But for everyone watching this video, you can get any preset pack you want only for $6. Head off to omagamrawi.com/store, use the coupon code 35MM and get yours today. And now it's the time for me to get some images out there at f1.4 and f1.8. So for me, as a guy who owns and uses a full frame camera in most of my work, I can remarkably tell that the sharpness of this 23mm Viltrox lens is okay wide open at f1.4, but not to the level of my full frame prime lenses wide open. Anyway, will not notice that if you don't zoom in to 100%. Besides f1.4, the sharpness gets better when stepping up to f1.6 and gradually becomes better at f2. Autofocus performance is no doubt one of the major factors that makes the lens great or crap. So overall, I've been using the lens for the last 2 months and I don't remember experimenting a bad or slow performance in any of the still or video mode. In fact, the autofocus speed is decent. Lens flare. And as I'm testing the Viltrox 23mm flare performance, in fact, it does a very good job in my opinion. And we don't get that weird flare effect when having the sun or other source of light pointed to the camera. f1.4, f1.6, f1.8, f2, f2.2, f2.5. Chromatic aberration. Technically, chromatic aberration is an issue in the Viltrox 23mm wide open at f1.4 and f1.6 and f1.8 when we have a strong backlight. See here, for example, the color fringing on my face and the leaves behind me is remarkably visible. However, I didn't notice that problem with images shot in balanced conditions. Moreover, f2 and f2.2 don't have that strong effect. Finally, as with all prime lenses, sharpness quality varies from large to small apertures. So wide open at f1.4, the sharpness quality is okay. The sharpness at f1.4 indeed is not the best aperture settings for pixel beepers. Anyway, it gets significantly better at f1.8, whether in the centers or on the sides. I'm way satisfied with the image quality at f1.8. And technically the Viltrox 23mm gets a lot sharper at f2.2. However, at f2.8 and f4 we get the best sharpness quality if you want to crop or zoom in. Otherwise, f1.8 and f2 are quite good for the Viltrox 23mm lens. So when using the camera handheld, make sure do not shoot slower than 1/100th shutter speed. Generally speaking, your hand shakes and that will show in your images when using slow shutter speed. This little lens has a decent value for the money. $300 for a 35mm f1.4 autofocus lens is a great bargain. I mean a 23mm equivalent on a full frame. It's a small, lightweight, and shares a good image quality. And I believe it's one of the best prime lenses available in the market for that range. I will keep the links down below, check them if you're interested. Thank you for watching guys, and I hope this video helped in making your decision. Show me a thumbs up and bump that subscribe button for more camera gear reviews. This was Oma, and see you in another one.